So today in this video, we will be using CompactLogix to establish a class 3 messaging with our PLX31 EIP MB-TCP. If you refer to the PLX31 user manual on the EIP protocol chapter, you will be seeing that we have these certain numbers of I/O connections, or your CompactLogix or ControlLogix can actually establish these numbers of class 1 connections, class 1 I/O connections to the PLX unit. So every of these connections, you will get 496 bytes of 248 integers of inputs and output. And as of 25th of March 2020, our module PLX gateway supports up to 4,000 integers. So let's say if you are using PLX31 EIP MB-TCP, so you get to have 2 connections. If let's say the data count that you need exceeds the 2 connections, so you can use class 3 connections to establish communications with the PLX gateway. So for class 3, our PLX gateway supports as a server up to 5, and as a client it can do 2 and 1. So in this training, we will be using CompactLogix as the class 3 client, and PLX31 EIP MB-TCP will be the server. So on the PCB part, you just do whatever Modbus client setting that you need, and then you just configure an IP address and download to the PLX31 gateway. So on the Logix part, so the Logix controller that I'm using today is 1769L16 CompactLogix. So what you need, so if you are using class 1, you need to add the add-on profile under the Ethernet tab so that you have I/O connections to the PLX31 gateway. But if you are using class 3, it is not necessary to do this part. So what you need is just a messaging instructions, like how you do the messagings between CompactLogix, ControlLogix, and some other Ethernet devices. So let me put a start bit over here. Then you need this messaging instruction. So you give it a tag. So create the message data type text, and in here, so basically for control CompactLogix, we will be using a zip data read if you want to read from the PLX31 gateway. So if you want to write from CompactLogix to your gateway, then you will use zip data table write. So for this example, I'm using zip data table read. So in here, you will need to put source element. So the source element, so you are reading. So CompactLogix will be reading from the PLX31 gateway. So the source element will be from the PLX31 gateway. So if you refer back to the manual, so under the class 3 server side, you will see that there is a internal memory tag name. So if you are using integer data type, so the tag name will be int_data and the array. So the array will be from 0 to 3999. So if you are using Boolean, you are using other data type, then you can refer to this table accordingly. So now for the example here, I will be reading from 0, which is the first register in our internal database. Maybe you can read the number of elements that you want. So maybe I put 10 for here. So destination elements will be the tag name that you use in your logics. So maybe I just use this as example. So you can create it. If you haven't created the tag yet, you can just click here to create a new tag. So I want it as a integer data type, size 10. Correct. So in here, I want to put the first register from my PLX31 gateway register, which is array 0. Then I put in read data from 0. Then in communication, so the path. So this will be depends on how your controller, using the path format. So for my CompactLogix, the format that I'm using is actually just a 2, which is out of my Ethernet port. Then I put the IP address of my gateway. So the gateway is 110.194.67 and 105, and I just click apply here. Okay, right now I'm done with this. I just download this to my controller. My controller. Okay. So I put to run mode. So if I trigger this bit on, then you can see that the messaging is correct. So I'm actually reading this 10 data from my internal database, the first to the 10 register. So let me use a Modbus SS Modbus TCP IP client to write some data to my PLX31 gateway. This is IP of my PLX31 gateway. So if I write some data over here, then I go back to my logics. I trigger it again. So my read messaging instruction is done. So under controller tab, I will be able to read the data from my PLX31 gateway. Okay, so the step is very simple. So this is an example to read from PLX31 gateway. CompactLogix reading from PLX31 gateway. So if you want to do write instructions, you just do the same, but you will be using a zip data table write instead of read. And then depends on how you want to program your controller. You can use some timer instructions or some other way so that your messaging instructions will be sent routinely or periodically, like some certain times. So actually, if you refer to programming manual from Rockwell, they actually have certain recommendations on how to program your controller so that such instruction is sent accordingly, so that you won't face any issue. So they have some example over here that you can follow and use. Yeah. So if you need it, you can refer to these publications. 1756 PM 012. And I have, for example, here using the style that they recommend in the manual. So I can try to download this. Put it in run mode. you can see that actually I'm separating my message instructions into two groups. So one group for read and one group for write, and you can see that. So I'm actually sending one after another. So only after the first group is done, then I trigger it to send another group, and after this group instruction is done, then follow back to another. So these are the recommendations from Rockwell, like how the controller, like the way how they handle messaging instructions. So I have a read here and a write, so I can show you an example. Okay, so now I'm writing. So in the write data tag, I have three values, 1, 2, 3. So I'm writing it to integer data 10. So if I'm using a mod scan to read the 10 registers from my PLX gateway, I shall be able to read these three values. Yeah, so you can see that 1, 2, 3 here. 40011 is actually the 10 registers on my PLX31 gateway. So if let's say I change the value over here, then I'll be able to read it from my mod scan.